we are here beginning to say what is memory to you. And we have a problem here, what we have quite often when we are together with Lawrence. We call it conspiracy of the universe because he cannot send out the tell a little bird or retweet, and he rebooted the computer, but the memory of the computer says, no, the left side, I don't show it to you. Or the memory of the universe. Or whose memory is that?
Yeah, whose memory is that? We're trying to cleverly tie this in with our theme.
Oh, sure, we try to. While we are waiting for people to get to know that we are doing here this transmission.
Yeah.
So I manually retweeted that.
Ah, good.
Even though this is Blab Beta, and I think it's also maybe Cosmic Conspiracy Beta.
Well, all cosmic conspiracies are by their very nature betas.
I'm glad to know that I didn't make another mistake. How do I do these things?
My goodness. Well, I'm not sure, but just stick around and it'll happen again. Yeah.
But you know,
I see what happened. I had to. My browser window was magnified or zoomed a little bit. I did one click to make it smaller, and the tell a little bird thing showed up.
I see.
So it's not the universe. It was just you.
Yeah, it was just me. It always is.
Well, are you being presumptuous in saying that you are the universe?
I would never do such a thing.
Okay.
Even if it were true.
Even if it were true, I would not believe it.
I have a little poem.
Okay.
The Ancient of Days swallowed a cloud and cured a bad case of existential heartburn.
Okay. Can you say that again? I don't get that.
The Ancient of Days swallowed a cloud and cured a bad case of existential heartburn.
Okay, can we swallow a cloud?
It's like taking a little bicarbonate, you know? Yeah.
And this is in form of a cloud.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
And the heartburn. Okay. We are talking about memory, and we are hoping that somebody will come in and join us about memory.
Maybe they all forgot.
This could be.
If you forget something, does that, no longer shape your ego?
This is a different topic. Excuse me.
No, I don't know. No, it's actually on topic. It's about memory.
Right.
I wanted to go to another place first. I wanted to say, even if you forget something, it's still in your memory.
Well, there's a line of thought that says that the Akashic record is a memory function that some people can get to, but it is so deeply submerged for most people that they effectively have forgotten it.
So it's not retrievable for most people.
Well, not. I think not. No, I mean, with practices of various sorts, maybe they could. But your question actually bears, Heidi, on another matter, which is the term sensory motor amnesia, which is a condition in which a person has a hard memory imprint from either a trauma or a long period of an experience, and it fades from their attention, but the effects persist. It's just without sensory awareness.
Yeah.
And so the answer is, yeah, you may forget something and still have it running your life. And in fact, I guess that's what everything to do with subconscious and semi-conscious has to do with.
Sure.
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah. And this is what your practices then address, no? But before we go there, just let us do another bit of exploration, what memory is. I think you were saying, or we heard it somewhere else. I think we heard it somewhere else in some talk, they say that maybe the memory is not stored in your brain, but the brain is only the receptor and the sender, the transmitter of content, and that the memory maybe is stored somewhere in the cloud. I mean, not in this cloud you wanted to swallow at the beginning, but in somewhere.
The big cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
I'd say partially true. It's my feeling also that the brain is a receiver. However, to say it's stored elsewhere, no, it's actually stored physiologically as well as elsewhere, perhaps. In fact, I would say definitely elsewhere and physiologically, because our brains undergo physiological changes with memory formation, myelination of nerve pathways and such. The fascia, that is the connective tissue network that gives us our shape, also is a seat of memory. So it's both.
Maybe I didn't understand what you meant. Connective network, you mean in the brain or in the whole body?
The whole body is given a shape by a network of fibers in which if gland cells go into the fibers, they call it a gland. If contractile cells go into that fibrous matrix, they call it muscle. If salts go in, they call it bone. And it's made of a protein called collagen. Collagen, yes, which has nothing to do with college.
Okay.
If in Europe they might say, I'm collagen. No, where would they say it? I'm collagen. Hey, baby, I'm collagen.
Well, that's in the US of A. I'm
Yeah, US of A.
collagen.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It could come out of inner city.
Yes.
Upgrading of one's social status. Yeah.
Yeah, collagen is the act of going to college.
Yes.
I'm collagen.
We don't have college in Europe.
Yeah.
You have university.
Universitan.
Yeah, that's it. In the universe, once again, back to the universe.
Yeah,
There we
back
go.
to the universe.
If only.
But in this sense, also cells have memory.
No, here's a funny thing. There's this thing about cellular memory as if it's the deepest, and it's not. It's the shallowest. It's getting back to Ken Wilber's holonic hierarchy. The shallowest are the smallest, the least depth, and then they integrate. So you get atoms integrating into molecules, into tissues or substances, organs, so forth. So the more integration you go, the deeper it is. Cells are a very shallow level, extremely shallow. It's the integration that produces the depth. Integration into a whole living organism and then into a society or world scheme.
So when I spin that force, a person would not even be the highest level of memory.
Right. No, there's a collective memory.
Yeah. Universal memory.
Jung knows about that.
Yes.
So the archetypes. Okay.
So we could talk about the memory of cells. We could talk about DNA. That's a memory structure. DNA remembers the shape of the individual, and it carries behaviors, and it carries responses of different sorts. But it has nothing to do with the larger scales of behavior. People say that's from the DNA, but I don't think so. I think it's from the morphic field.
Yeah. Well, we use DNA in a metaphoric sense often.
Yeah, that's true. And remember, DNA spelled backwards is A-N-D.
What does that mean?
And.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And DNA has sort of taken a secondary seat in some regards to its role, because it once was looked upon as just the building blocks, assembled in a certain way, and it was static and unchanging. And if it was
now we know it can be changed.
no, it's not nearly so stable, shall we say.
Yeah, it's true.
It's many combinations.
With the emergence of the theory of genetic expression, in which genes are turned on or off by environmental conditions, there's a top-down communication going from the high integration of the individual and transmitting through the field all the way to the DNA and having genes turn on or off.
So it's another look at Lamarckian theories.
Right.
Yeah, and that means that the field is more potent. The field is more potent than the DNA.
Yeah, which is in fact what physics says. The field determines the behavior of the particles in it.
Yeah.
But it's a two-way communication, not just one way, the way, as Mark was putting out, the idea, the old monolithic conception of DNA as the fundamental determiner of everything, and it doesn't change except through generations.
The Lego blocks.
Lego blocks, that's right. And then, of course, DNA spelled backwards is and Lego blocks is always adding things together to make larger things. So there's and.
Okay, I'm trying to imagine that all. Going back to memory, what does it mean?
Well,
Is memory sort of, where is it? It's not stored in the DNA. Or yes, it is stored in the DNA, but a certain memory, not the memory that yesterday I went to shopping or something. That's probably not in the DNA.
No.
So,
but your shopping may affect your DNA.
I don't know if this is the right question to ask, you know. Where is memory stored? Can we ask a different question? What does memory do?
well, I've come to a very simple understanding of that. Believe it or not,
Go for it. Yeah.
nothing more than persistence.
What sticks around? What
Yeah, that's it.
lasts?
Yeah.
Our sense of who we are based on what we remember.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one part of it. But there's any form of persistence. What do they call it in computers where you have capacity, storage capacity? They call it memory, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's nothing more than chips that maintain a pattern of electrical charge or no charge, zeros and ones. And they call it memory because why? It stores a pattern.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about, can we lose memory and then gain it again, or did we never lose it?
Well, obviously we can forget and then remember. We have occasions like that. But there's the question of whether our attention is aimed into the memory. Because if you want to remember something, right, there's an intention to bend your attention toward the subject to be remembered. So memory itself doesn't work. Memory works only in concert with the other three faculties of intelligence. Yeah.
I know, I understand it too, but I want to do a little bit, you say devil's advocate.
Okay.
I know, I forgot what I wanted to say. Let me see.
Watch her. She's aiming her intention towards that memory.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to say. Often when I try to remember, I don't.
Yeah, that's because you're aiming your intention in the wrong direction. You haven't aimed it at the thing. You've missed it. And so it hasn't come up.
And the more I try to, the less it comes up. And now it was just the situation which has illustrated.
Yeah.
I have a difficult time remembering the Italian word for cucumbers, because when I was in school, I had an ancient textbook, and they used a similar word, cocomeri, which was easy to remember, but that's not the word Italians use anymore.
No, they use it for something else.
Yeah, it means watermelon now. But anyway,
Well, that's understandable.
So I recently tried to make a little memory helper, and I remembered that my brother in high school had a friend named Chet, and if I could remember Chet, then I could remember Chet Trioli.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was I remembered Chet. And that's as far as it went.
You didn't remember Rioli
I could remember the trick, but not what it referred to.
You forgot to add
helpful.
the tree. Chet
Yeah.
and a tree. Chet tree.
Tree.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We have celebrate today, whoever you are. Do you want to come in and chat with us about the Cetrioli,
Cetrioli,
about the
not.
memory?
Uh-huh.
Take a seat.
Take a seat. Yeah.
This is an open seat. Yeah, this is tricky, no?
Yeah.
For me, Kokomoro, to learn Kokomoro was very difficult, actually.
Because it didn't come from anything.
It was not my
German.
memory.
No.
It didn't help me. Sometimes it takes a long time to put things into memory,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's easy. What is that dependent on?
Wow.
Well, I hate to say it, but it has to do with all four faculties.
Mm-hmm.
You up for hearing this one?
Okay.
It's early in the hour.
Yeah,
here,
really.
sir.
Okay, very simple.
Okay.
Imagination and memory are on the same spectrum of existence. Memory
Uh-huh.
is dense, entrenched, persistent through time. Imagination is not dense, the opposite. It's subtle or rarefied, short term, and tends to vanish. Imagination does. But if you put your attention onto what you're imagining and you hold it there by the power of intention and you keep imagining it, the imagining gets denser and more consolidated until it becomes a memory. Imagination becomes memory. How do we remember anything? We do it by repeating it, imagining it to ourselves many times with the intention to consolidate it. So there it is.
Yeah, that is true. And sometimes, for instance, words, English words or whatever words in another language, I hear them and it's not enough for really learning them. I have to imagine how it is written, and then it goes into my, more easily at least, into my head.
Yeah.
So I can remember it. So does memory depend on the channel? So that some people are more, let's say, they adapt more to learn or to put into memory things from one channel or the other. So like me, for instance, I still need to see how it's written, the word, before I really think I have understood.
Yeah, me too.
Well, that's very much like Cetrioli. You have something that you're visualizing, a tree, and Chet, and you're associating that.
And my middle name, Oli.
Well, and there we have it.
You know how we call that in German? We call that the bridge of a donkey. Donkey bridge.
A donkey bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, a shortcut.
Yeah, but we figuratively a donkey bridge. I don't know why, but probably.
I don't know if I'm going to remember that.
He says, how do you feel about body memory at the cellular level?
Cellular level. We just talked about that.
Yeah, but he was not yet here.
Yeah.
Oh, he's Fort Lauderdale. This is something like you were before, no?
Well, the other side of the peninsula.
Okay.
Yeah, the Atlantic side.
Next door.
I was on the laid-back Gulf side. Yes.
Oh, the Miami effect. This is you, Lawrence, saying that.
Well, true, but he said South Florida. Fort Lauderdale is next door to, I don't know if it's Miami or Hallandale.
It was close.
Yeah. And I used to live in North Miami Beach, and my grandparents lived in Hallandale on South Ocean Drive in a condo there, 13th floor or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the area a little bit. I love South Beach, love Art Deco.
Oh, it's beautiful. Wonderful. Yes.
He says we are just north of that.
Mhm.
And he was once there too, nearby. But now he is here.
In Italy, Italia.
Yeah, in Italy.
Italy, where we have cetrioli and cocomeri. Do you remember the difference?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so your memory is in shape now.
At the moment.
It's shaped like a cucumber.
Mine is more like a cocomero.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Very good.
So where did we, the cellular level, do you want to say something still about that?
Yeah, I'll just be brief. Cellular memory pertains to the level of experience that cells experience. The cell does not have any cognition of, the cell has no fashion sense.
Okay.
Fashion sense is a higher level of integration. So cells remember things like the chemical environment. They remember the DNA programming to produce proteins. Cellular memory is the most superficial level of memory in a living organism, unless you take into account molecular or atomic memory, which you can only imagine, I imagine.
Superficial, but very fundamental.
Yeah, that's true. It's just that that when people think, oh, it goes all the way down to cellular memory, they're not saying much, because cellular memory is not the level at which people experience. We don't experience cells, if you notice. So our level of memory and experience is a much higher level of integration than cellular memory. And emotions, same thing. Emotions are much higher order. Emotions are social memories.
Tell me more about that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Social memories, they are, for me, when I hear that, I would say they are induced by social interaction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But emotion in themselves are body expressions?
Well, true, but who is an emotion is a communication. If a person gets angry, it means nothing unless there's somebody to receive that experience. Sadness, emotion, anger, emotion, fear, emotion. These are all related to individual relating to the external environment.
I can be angry and relate to myself.
But you're relating to yourself based on memory that you acquired from the larger field of experience.
So you mean I wouldn't recognize to be angry if nobody had mirrored it back to me that this is anger and that is emotion? Or what do you mean?
I think that's true, but I think the anger wouldn't come up unless there was some sort of a memory of how things should be against the recognition of how things are.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how things should be is a social thing.
Largely. If you people don't usually get angry unless it's a social thing. Even if you hit your thumb with a hammer and you get angry at yourself, you're still basing it on a memory tied in with all kinds of behaviors.
Okay,
we have the comment here from, what is your name today, Celebrate? So I could name you with your name. He says, I found out late in life that some of my...
Michelle.
Also, it's Michele or Michelle Femina,
a woman, I think.
Maybe a woman. Okay. Some of my angry issues are due to some sadness my mother experienced while I was in her womb. Okay. Female. Okay. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, and so there's a social connection between the fetus and the womb and the mother.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this guy. He is dead now. He is called Alfred Tomatis. a French doctor who has done very out-of-the-box research, and especially on that, on prenatal experiences. And he then created what is called the Mozart effect. He created the vibration thing with earphones, and he re-educated the frequencies which were sort of shut out by the in early life.
The experience shut out
some frequencies are cut out, and you can re-educate them. And he had extreme success, especially with autistic children, by making them hear the voice of their mothers, but as if they were still inside the womb, you know, with certain filters that it is the same, and there they could relate to it and could recreate the memory in another direction. So we hear this. Okay, let me see what she writes. This was muscle tested, and this was the first time I had ever heard of cellular memory. Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, it is wonderful. Michelle, could you go on the left side and tell a little bird? We would love to have more people coming in. Then when you click on that, then you tweet it out to your followers, and maybe somebody will jump in. Yeah. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, if you have some questions, some ideas, tell us.
I'm not sure what she means.
Oh, it's your first day here. So we will immediately follow you, and you can follow us by going here on top. There are these little circles, and then there comes up a window, and you can follow there. Okay, first day. Yes, it says the first day. Wonderful.
Can we give her any applause for?
No, we cannot. As long as she is not in, we cannot give her any applause.
Oh, okay.
Next time, when you come in and don't work, then you can give us applause. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes.
It's lovely to see them come up.
Lawrence has one more than we do.
Oh.
That's because I have something to say.
Now you got a minute.
Oh, no, I could. Now we're even.
We don't remember anything. Our memory is too bad. His memory is better. No. Okay, tell us something out of your memory about memory.
All right. So I defined memory as nothing but persistence of a pattern. Yes. However, as we have observed with Cetrioli, that memories gain their persistence by linking with other memories.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
with the bridge of the donkey.
Exactly.
My brother's friend Chet.
And I would say that the more integrated a memory is with other memories, the more likely it is to persist.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got many routes to it, many connections to it. Yes.
The more connections it has, and the more. For me, also, what is important with memory, when you have a lived experience of what that thing says, you know, then it's much more ingrained in your memory structure. When you really have eaten a cetriolo, a cucumber, then you will remember. If you don't even know what a cucumber is, you won't remember that.
Well, definitely the taste will be a memory help. Certainly, absolutely.
And also the form, imagination of the form.
And the smell.
And the
color.
Well, there's a special thing about smell, though. Smell is primal, very primal. One of the first senses that come online for the newborn. The smell of the mother, then that's the environment. And the neurophysiologists have pointed out that the sense of smell is tied very closely to the brain center that makes us alert in danger, called the amygdala. In fact, the olfactory bulbs of the nose, that is the nerve receptors in the deep top of the nose that smell things, it sends nerve trunks right into that same region as the amygdala. And smell is a primal communicator. There's the smell of fear, right? There's also
the sweat.
Of
Is
sweat?
it sweat?
Well, it's different than sweat, because sweat varies. If a person is very tense, then their whole body chemistry is more acid from all of the carbon dioxide made by the muscles, and the sweat has a sour smell to it, an acidic smell. And some people have a lot of stress in their lives, and they have bad breath. I remember the beginning of my last long-term relationship. It was quite remarkable. Her breath smelled like ambrosia to me.
What is that?
Heavenly, wonderful thing.
Yeah, and she was like
You were in love.
Yeah.
You were in love.
well, it wasn't just it was her chemistry that was altered by that.
Sure.
So the sense of smell is a primal communicator. It's right next to touch. The only thing more primal than smell is touch. And these are all very local, that is close to the person experiences. Whereas the sense of smell can come from a distance. It has to be local for us to smell it. Whereas hearing can be at a distance and sight at a distance before it's anywhere near close enough to us to affect us in terms of any kind of danger or opportunity. So the sight and hearing are called teleceptors, they're distance senses. And then smell bridges distance to local, so you can tell what's in the wind. The animals sense the predator if they're downwind from the predator, which is why predators like to go downwind from the prey. And then taste is very local. You can't taste it unless it's in your mouth. And then touch is even more local. And memory applies at all those different levels.
Absolutely, yeah. Let us shortly go back to the question which Michelle has.
Yes.
First it was, is it why PTSD is difficult to get through? I think it was when we talked before. And then the sense of smell is very important for emotional healing. As a life coach, this is one of the areas that we focus in on, the sense of smell by using essential oils.
Skunk oil.
You know what? In Europe, people don't know what skunks smell like. I'm afraid.
There's no skunks in Europe. It's only in the US of A.
Yeah, but when we were in my sister's house, there was a skunk once.
Yeah, you had.
I had a certain idea of what it is. But we were talking before. Where is it? PSD, PD,
post-traumatic stress
about
disorder.
The
PTSD.
Memory, which is difficult to erase, or what was it?
Oh, I think perhaps we're talking about PTSD.
No, we were not talking about. But
but she may be relating that to remembered or not remembered subconscious memories that can still affect one's emotional state today.
Well, here's one of the things that happens in trauma, since we're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, is traumas typically evolve events that happen so quickly that we can't follow them with our attention. This is one reason people in car accidents may not remember the accident at all, because their memory their attention couldn't follow it, so they couldn't lay down memory that would make continuity between before and after. Sure. And that's the nature of shock. There's a discontinuity between the flow of life, the shocking moment, and what followed. The other side is if it's too intense for a person to tolerate and they turn their attention away from it. Again, no way of connecting the memory of before with the memory after, and that produces shock and the inability to recover the memory of the incident and its ongoing effects in us. So they just run on automatic because they're disconnected from our self-regulatory flow.
So is it that the memory of the event is not retrievable because it was too quick, But what could be retrievable is afterwards the effects, but which they have deliberately removed. Is that?
Well, the usual approach is to try to get at the memory, whereas I suggest that the way to recover the memory is to fully experience the effects. They lead you down a rabbit hole back to the memory of origin. So the very thing that people are avoiding, possibly, in PTSD is exactly where they need to go to recover their integrity. And then the thing is to get it to lose its charge so that it isn't shocking anymore. And that's what things like gold key release are good for, to dissolve the shock so that the person is willing to experience the thing and then able. Just a thought.
Yeah. And Michelle likes the response. LOL. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does make perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose that explains cases of amnesia, other kinds of amnesia too, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
She's asking what you were talking about. I write it down. It is the gold key release.
Maybe you could give her the link to.
Yeah, I can. This upcoming a free webinar in the 7th of October where I give the link. Okay.
The bit.ly link?
Yes. Bit.ly and control me if I do it right.
Okay.
Wisdom Gold 1, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's one of those.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, this is the one for the free webinar you are holding. Anyway, to tell you what it is a procedure which Lawrence has developed, I would say, not invented, but developed, and it is based on, I'm his student in T2, so we try now to be in exam and, and say the right things.
Procedure developed by Lawrenc
Which is
Gold.
based on the 4 qualities.
Faculties,
you say. What is the difference between quality and faculty? Later. Okay. Of existence. And one is memory, where we are talking about today. But it already came into also the imagination. You have talked about it. And then you have talked about attention and intention. It all came up already when we were talking. You said at the beginning, memory without intention. You don't find anything, you know. If you don't want to remember, you can push it away. And that's the problem that we had just now with the stress disorder, no? When you push the memory away, but then you have an intention to push it away. You know, are we good enough? Or
that's what I do with you a lot, though.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I want Lawrence to say, yes, I'm good enough.
It's good.
That's good.
Okay, because I am an Enneagram type 4 who is never good enough, you know, so I need to learn well.
It was pretty good, but not great.
Well, you know what happens with an Enneagram 4 is your direction is toward oneness, which is the reformer, right? The perfectionist, the reformer. So for us ones, we have to go towards 7, which is the epicure.
Yes.
Boy, I don't know. I wish I knew one.
I know, we know a delightful 7 friend.
Yeah, I know some 7 people.
Yes,
Yeah.
who is just great, but never gets so far into the weeds that he can't escape easily.
Ah, yes.
No, so you are 1. That's why. That's why it's also ordered.
No,
it's not.
He's a 3. He said.
You are 3.
No, I haven't been 3 for a long time.
I haven't been 3 for a long time.
I see. Now, I'm mostly
What are you?
one-ish, but I've seen qualities in myself. Certainly, I've gotten into 4 heavily. That's unfortunate. But 5, I've had 5 qualities. The observer, right? The observer. Because what I do when I enter in a new situation is I keep my mouth shut and I listen for a long time until I hear how things are going. And then the 1 comes out.
Well, I identify with a 5 also, though I think I'm more of a 6.
Yeah, you have the wing, the 5 wing. By the way, Lawrence, tomorrow we will have the blurb, and I set it up for gender, for types.
Yes.
And so not yet Enya types, but I thought the most fundamental thing is gender. And
in the Wilberian sense.
Well, I'll have to make my contribution to that right now because I have scheduling conflicts for that.
Oh.
Okay, we're going to have to change what we say after listening to this.
I don't know about that, but here's the thing. So far, it's just emerging for me, but what I'm seeing is that the female of the human is like the queen in chess. She can move all these different directions. That's because the female is highly adaptive. That's the great advantage, the great resource a woman can be for a man, is she is tremendously adaptable. She can adopt all manner of abilities, whereas males are much slower to change. You know, there's the saying that the man hopes the woman will never change, and she always does. And the woman hopes the man will change, and he never does. So the female is tremendously adaptable. The male, much less so. The male is not for adapting, but for penetrating into new experiences, new directions, which then the woman adapts to. So that's just a little overview on that.
Complementary
it is
activities.
good, but it's also very dangerous because we shouldn't adapt to everything. Sometimes we should take over really and say no. That's not. That's what is beginning now. What we do. No.
Oh, that is an adaptation. To say no is an adaptation that women can adopt.
Yes.
Okay, but it's an adaptation to something else, not to what is asked from them, but to what they feel that is needed from inside.
Exactly. So female can adapt either to external circumstances or to internal imperatives, whereas the male tends to be much more stuck in the groove, memory-based again. See, the woman... Here's even a saying, women never forget. See? So memory, whereas men, much more on the side of imagination.
True.
Yeah,
but I am training my memory. Things are happening.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can do both, but I say by predisposition. A female is much more aligned with memory, male with imagination, and female much more adaptable than the male. Male is much more fitted for penetrating into new directions of experience than the female, although a female can adapt to be that way also. Whereas I think for males, it's much more difficult to become more adaptable.
Yeah.
I'm learning that too.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's I find it's true. My experience, my life experience is exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we females sometimes get angry. Why can these men, why do they have to do always this and cannot adapt at this issue? Why can he stay near a pot where the things are burning without switching off the gas? This is for me.
What pot? What
pot? Is there a pot?
I was looking for the bread. Right. But this, of course, gets very close to the nature versus nurture consideration.
Kind of does. The nurture would be the female, obviously, and the nature would tend to be the male, I should think. That is the pre-established patterns that don't change unless there's a compelling reason.
Yeah. but they can, to within certain limits. I don't know which limits are really limiting. That's the interesting area.
It depends on how dense the memory is.
Yeah.
If it's very dense, it's very difficult to change.
I'm thinking of interviews we heard probably a year ago now with Norwegian educators who were absolutely convinced that boys and girls were the same, period. And anything that caused changes in behavior were because of social conditioning. All social conditioning.
And it was sort of, they seemed really to be stupid.
And they were holding this in such a dogmatic fashion. It was
typical
quite
males.
Amazing. Yeah, but they were largely females.
Yeah, also females.
Yeah.
No, it was just green.
Oh, so green. Yeah.
Anyway, Lawrence, thank you for the talk.
Mhm.
Even if we this time didn't reach too many people, but we have reached somebody. And I like it very much. So if we can just do it for us and create content in this way, I'm really happy about it.
And I hope we see Michelle again.
Yes, we do. I